Problems for the Jets' offensive line and Chad Pennington, another time-in-rhythm quarterback just like Manning.
Good job by Jaws. I like that playbook anytime. Let's flip this around to the Jacksonville's offense. One of the things in studying the tape from last week, and Byron Leftwich, I like him as a quarterback, but one of the things he does struggle with after you've got pressure on him is resetting his feet and throwing the football because he has elongated motion, and you always try to get pressure on the quarterback, but I think if you can get pressure on Leftwich, he does have a hard time resetting himself. So I think when you looked at what Indianapolis did to him, the Jets will try to do that same thing. And if the Jets can only do it with their four-down linemen, which Indianapolis did, that would be a bonus for them. I think it would be hard for the Jets to do that, but you really disrupt his timing if you can get initial pressure on Leftwich, and I think the Jets will really try to do that in this one.
Well, let's go to our next matchup then and look at the Colts D. You got the Browns at the Colts, and the Colts defense is basically about Dwight Freeney. You have to block Dwight Freeney.
Can you do that, though?
Trent Dilfer's coming off an AFC of the Offensive Player of the Week performance, and Romeo Crennel's got that offensive line to the point where they haven't sacked Trent Dilfer at this point, but you've got to block Freeney.
Week one, we talked about difference makers. Dwight Freeney is a difference maker. He occupies your time all week in game planning because he is so effective at getting after the quarterback. Jonathan Ogden thought with a rematch, Jonathan would match up and play with
spin move.
Freeney still whipped him, right, Josh?
You got it. Ephraim Salaam, he's got him week 2. All right, there's a set. Whoop. Dwight, spin move back to the inside.
Oh, now we have L.J. Shelton. It could be a three-peat for Dwight Freeney. When you look at how he gets off the football, how quick he is, when you look at your offense and you're studying Dwight Freeney, really as an offensive coordinator, you would like to hope maybe your system would neutralize him. And really studying Cleveland, they have a really solid offensive system. Maurice Carthon, the offensive coordinator, doing a nice job of building the run and the pass together. They use a lot of they run the football, but they use a lot of misdirection off of it. And if you can do that, that may slow down Dwight Freeney a little bit, especially if you run at him and throw misdirection at him, because he does dictate formations. He does command respect, and you do have to occupy people on him. When you do that, it does negate a lot of the things you want to do offensively.
Right, when you play against the Colts defense and you're the quarterback, you better have courage, because one thing the Colts defensive line will do is come after the quarterback. They play the run on the way to the quarterback. That's why it's so important to have a wily old veteran like Trent Dilfer back in the pocket. He's not afraid to feel the pressure. He's not afraid to have bodies hanging around.
I say underrated.
He's not afraid to look down and convert. Watch this throw here. Bodies hanging all over him. Look at him get rid of the football for the completion of Dennis Northcutt. When you play the Colts, you're going to get that kind of pressure. It's going to be quick pressure. The ball has to come out of the quarterback's hand. And also, as I said, you got to look down the gun barrel because there's going to be people in your face.
How many Super Bowls would the Ravens have won if they had held on to Trent Dilfer?
Probably 3.
Yeah, they would have won well more than have won since.
Yes.
Stay with us when we come back. The game of the week, the Patriots at the Steelers, a rematch of the AFC Championship game.
Sports NFL matchup is brought to you by NBA Live 2006. Take control September 26th. And by IBM, helping companies innovate in an on-demand world.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. We gotta start fast, you play it together, ebb and flow. Regardless of anything, you stay focused, you execute, and above it all, you play physical. Physical on 3. 1, 2, 3, physical.
Bill Cowher and the Steelers have won 16 straight regular season games, but the Patriots have spoiled not 1, but 2 home AFC Championship games for the Steelers. Haji, I was at the Patriots game last week in Carolina, and that offense looked undisciplined and unfocused. I think Bill Belichick would agree with that. What do they have to look forward to fix this against the Steelers defense this week?
First I'm going to call Bill and make sure that he does agree with you, but I think you got to give Carolina some credit here. They dictated to the Patriots. They attacked the Patriots, and that was actually very unique because you don't see that with the Patriot offense. One of the things that I think they're the best in football at is when they attack you, they attack your weakness. They find out what it is, they make you play at it. Now, I did watch that tape, but I went back to last year, the 2 matchups that they had against the Steelers. The regular season one, I watched that a little bit, but Corey Dillon was not there. I went to the AFC Championship game because that's what I think you're going to see in this particular matchup, and here is why. The formations they use in the AFC Championship game, more 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. I truly believe this. They came out in the slot formation knowing Troy Polamalu would be up close to the formation. They don't want Troy Polamalu there. That is why they send the slot receiver in motion. Now Chris Hope, the other safety, has to come up to the formation. Now Troy Polamalu goes back. You have 2 tight ends, 1 wide receiver to that side. That's why Hope had to come up. It's a threat of the run. Troy now has to play the deep safety, the area really where he doesn't play all that well. Now it's the route combination that is complete here. The deep in route, the corner has to run with him, but it's the bait for Troy Polamalu. They know he's a downhill player, so he will attack that. Once he attacks that, Deshae Townsend on Deion Branch, one-on-one. Townsend expecting inside help, not there. Brady looked a lot like the Polish rifle there, throwing that baby down the middle of the field. And keep in mind, in that matchup, the Patriots had not ran the football very well at that point. But those formations, the illusion of running the football created that big matchup. That's the kind of thing I think you're going to see from the Patriots here. And Troy Polamalu, if he's down on the line of scrimmage, you don't want to see him there. He blows up things and makes things happen. I think they designed it to try to get Troy back and expose him at his weakness.
Well, speaking of the illusion of the running game, it is not an illusion for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The foundation of their offense is to pound the rock. I went back and looked at the AFC Championship game last year, and what I found was that the Steelers ran the ball on first down 16 times for good yardage, but I think they need to throw it more on first down. They threw it 5 times, completed 3 for 73 yards. And I think a little more balance gets more explosive plays. With Roethlisberger, you always have the opportunity for the explosive play down the field. And really, the profile of the Steelers this year has been to run it on 1st and 10. But here's how you get the big plays when you're running the football. Hines Ward over the top. The play-action fake will suck the linebackers up. You see the Patriots linebackers attacking the line of scrimmage. That opens up the void in the secondary. Hey, you're going to lift the top of the defense off with the deep route right down the middle. Now look at Hines Ward open up in the void area. I think that's what the Steelers have to do in this game. Pound with the football, which is their foundation, but also the explosive plays, the big plays must come out of the play action.
They're getting big plays. Why throw a wrench in this?
They can get
Why
more.
throw a wrench in this?
Wait, they lost that game.
Ken Wisenhunt,
There were opportunities.
Just keep doing your thing.
No. I'm not disagreeing with Wisenhunt. I think when you go 3 of 5 for 73 yards on those play action passes, I think you can do it more.
Our next matchup is in Miami. The Carolina Panthers are visiting the Miami Dolphins. And, you know, last week, without defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, that Carolina defense did not miss a beat. Held the Patriots offense to just 1 touchdown for the first time in about a year. And, Haji, as you know, this whole thing revolves around one guy, Julius Peppers.
And he is a difference maker. We talk about him every week, and we're going to. And what he does throughout the course of the week, it's not just what he does on Sunday, but just the game planning. Just being on the football field reminds me a lot of Lawrence Taylor. We used to game plan him all week.
Really?
Focused on Lawrence Taylor. But let me show you what he does. Julius Peppers to the left of the screen at his defensive end right there. Watch the impact he has. He is going to dictate that the slide protection comes to him, but he's going to drop out. What does this do? This takes 6 guys. They're blocking 4, but the matchup it creates on the outside with the cat blitz on the back. That is the beauty of this. Carolina knows that the slide protection is coming to Julius. He doesn't even have to rush, and he's created an impact here. Now you get the one-on-one matchup with the corner on the back. A great job here of avoiding a cut block, and you get a hit on Brady. We talked a little bit about it earlier, but that's what Carolina did. They dictated, and they hit Tom Brady. That is what the Steelers will try to do. They will try to hit Tom Brady. That's why I think the Patriots use those formations to try to avoid that blitzing. Don't even give them the temptation to come after him. We're going to keep 7 or 8 guys in to protect Tom Brady.
And when you look at this now from the Panthers offense, the style that they're going to have to play, this is going to have to be a mental game. Because Nick Saban of the Dolphins, that defense, you know, a lot of different looks. So as a quarterback, a wide receiver, and your pickups, you must have your head on a swivel because you don't know where they're coming from. The other thing, too, if I'm the Dolphin lineman, I'm looking out for all those whams, suckers, and traps that Carolina loves to run.
Can I go back to the Patriots offense here?
Go right ahead. Why not, Jeff? Why not?
I think the guy they're missing the most is not the guy who's coaching in South Bend, but the guy playing left guard in Cleveland in Joe Andruzzi. How about that?
Oh, really? Wow. Well,
Stay with us. When we come back, guess who has completed 72% of his passes? That guy, Carson Palmer. When we come back, Jaws will tell you why. Somebody's got to win the NFC North this season. Why not the Chicago Bears? Kyle Orton, Moreeeee Muhammad, and a touchdown, and a painful touchdown at that. All right, Jaws, this is where we send you inside the film room, powered by IBM. Tell us about Kyle Orton.
Well, first of all, Sal, I'm at the Eagles-49ers game last week, sitting next to Bobby DePaul, the Chicago Bears director of pro personnel.
What was he telling?
And he's telling me what a great quarterback Kyle Orton is going to be. And I wasn't buying into it, you know. All of a sudden, I'm watching the Bears score, and they're scoring points. All of a sudden, I look at the stats the next day, and I see Kyle Orton had a good game. So, hey, I got to plug in the tape on Tuesday, and I was very impressed with what I saw. So impressed, I called Wade Wilson, an old friend, quarterbacks coach of the Bears, and he raved about Kyle Orton. And he raved because there was good reason. Here was a young quarterback that sees the field very well. And I think when you look at young quarterbacks in this league, for the most part, they look to one receiver, and that's it. They throw it to him. But with Kyle Orton, he stayed with his progression and found the open receiver. You see this completion by Kyle Orton last week against the Lions. It showed me that Orton already has a strong feel for understanding and breaking down coverages. Chicago lined up with two receivers to the left. Slot receiver Mark Bradley ran a seam route designed to lift the underneath coverage, at the same time threatening the safety deep. Bradley's vertical route defined the read for Kyle. His eyes were now focused on middle linebacker Earl Holmes, who was put in a high-low bind based on the combination routes run by tight end Desmond Clark and wide receiver Moreeeee Muhammad. If Holmes dropped deep, Orton would hit Clark on the shallow cross. If Holmes jumped the cross, as he did here, Kyle would calmly deliver the ball to Muhammad on the dig behind Holmes. From the end zone angle, you can really see how comfortable Orton is in the pocket. Coming off the play-action fake, Kyle immediately gets his eyes on his read. The second he sees Holmes react to the crossing route, Orton drills the dig to Muhammad. I liked what I saw of Orton. He has excellent field vision, and he's patient and aware in the pocket. This kid has a real chance. That's the same thing I said about this guy years ago, Carson Palmer. He has now made it. Despite Haji lobbying for John Kitna, Carson Palmer is the guy right now in Cincinnati.
Well, first of all, 2 weeks ago, Sal, I told you that Carson Palmer is a very special player. Now, when I look at this particular matchup, this is actually going to be a dynamite game because of Carson Palmer. Studying the Bear defense, they're going to line up with 8 in the box. If they line up with 8 in the box, that tells you a couple things. They like their corners on the outside, so that means Carson Palmer is going to have those one-on-one matchups on the outside. They're going to throw the football early and often to really try to get that 8th guy out of the box, and then you go to run the football. So very interesting matchup because strength on strength in this one.
I agree, but the best route runner in the NFL right now, in my opinion, Chad Johnson.
I would see the safeties cheating on that side.
All right. Let's go to Jaws' hometown of Buffalo.
Hey,
the Falcons are at Buffalo.
Enough pub for him, all right?
Traveling all the way out to Seattle. The Bills have to go all the way up to Buffalo to play the Bills. And hammy or no hammy problem for Michael Vick. It is still a carpet out there. It's still September. It's not going to be cold. He is going to give that Bills defense problems.
Well, you know, Sal, we get an opportunity to watch the tape. I think that's why people watch this show. It's special for us. But one thing you got to remember, too, is the players also watch the tape, not just of the opponent, but of their recent game. And I'm sure that the Bills' defensive line, as they're watching tape this week, it was not a fun moment on Monday because they got hammered by the Buck offensive line. I'm going to show you a couple of plays that will illustrate what the Buck offensive line did to the Bill defensive line. First of all, this was how they ran the football so well. The first thing I want you to watch is the movement this Buck offensive line established. When you establish a line of scrimmage like this, you get movement, you get one-on-one matchups, you move tackles, you hold off defensive ends, you get your offensive lineman to the second level, you create running lanes. Cadillac doing a great job of complementing these running lanes, finishing. If you run the football against the Bills like this, you're never in 3rd and long. The reason you don't want to be in 3rd and long is because this is really where the Bills are so outstanding. Watch this. This is a beautifully designed blitz, and this is exactly what the Bills are great at. You have 3 guys here occupying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. You're creating the matchup on the back, one-on-one. You got Baker coming into the inside, Malloy on the outside. You got quick pressure at your quarterback. When you're 3rd and long with the Buffalo Bills, it is not a good situation for Atlanta. Atlanta will watch this tape. They're going to go, you know what? We're going to try to maul them exactly like Tampa Bay did. Now, if you're the Bills defensive line, you have to make it up this week. You have to play much better against the run and try to get him in 3rd and long. So that's going to be a terrific matchup to watch early in this game.
Well, also the Bills' offensive line and Willis-McGahee must play better in this matchup. They should look at what the Tampa Bay offense did coming off the ball. Cadillac Williams running down.
Attacking the line.
And, you know, there was a little bit of a feud in Buffalo this week with Coach Mularkey and Willis-McGahee. You know, Coach Mularkey didn't feel that he was hitting the hole. He was dancing too much. Well, when you got a young quarterback like J.P. Lossman, 2 yards is a big play because that 2nd and 10 now becomes 2nd and 8. It kind of keeps the offense on schedule. So Willis-McGahee must know that in the NFL, you don't get big old gaping holes. You get cracks. You got to hit those cracks, get positive yards, and keep J.P. Lossman and the Bills' offense out of those 3rd and longs.
And I like the way Mularkey handled that. It was very serious up front with the guy, and I think McGahee got the message. Stay with us. When we come back, our EASports.com poll question of the week. What's the biggest surprise of the 2005 season thus far? Here's the show times for next week. Week 4, big show Sunday morning on the Worldwide Leader at 8:30. Hey, it's the first games in October. That's when you see some serious trends developing. So let Haji and Jaws break down the coaches' tape and show you what's really going on. Let's check out this week's EASports.com poll question. Click on the page, go to the bottom of the page, see the question. What's the biggest surprise thus far in the 2005 season? Dante Culpepper looking like Ryan Leaf.
Ouch.
Cadillac Williams looking like a Porsche. Colts D looking like the Ravens D. Or Jamal Lewis looking positively well, just bad. And the answer is Dante Culpepper. What do you think, Josh?
You know, Sal, I'm surprised myself. He was my choice as league MVP this year. And, you know, when a quarterback is in this kind of funk, the term I use is seeing ghosts. There's no clarity to what you're seeing defensively. Your timing and rhythm is all out of whack. And then ending up making plays like this, just throwing the ball up. This is really uncharacteristic of Dante Culpepper.
Well, my boy is Cadillac Williams.
What a shocker.
And here is why. This guy models himself after Walter Payton, and in the first few weeks, he looks a lot like Walter Payton. Why? Because he finishes runs. He attacks defenders. He runs tackle to tackle, which was my big question mark of him coming into the National Football League. He has answered it beautifully. We knew he's a perimeter player. This gives the balance the Bucs have been looking for. Buck ball is back because the defense is there.
Ooh, they're
Look out, Tampa.
They're flying.
Let's finish this show big. We got the Raiders and Eagles matchup. And what is wrong with this Raiders offense? They brought in Randy Moss to get more points, and
that's the problem.
They're not getting more points.
Let me turn to Merrill, because this may be the first time. Let's see, we've been doing this show for 9 years. I think it's our 9th year. I'm going to say the Oakland Raiders must run the ball more. I know that's shocking to you, but I'm looking at that Chiefs tape, and the Chiefs defended the run with 7 in the box. They kept the safeties, Greg Wesley and Sammy Knight, deep. And I'll tell you, every time Lamont Jordan touched the football, it was positive gains. Pound the football, bring that safety down. Now you get the one-on-one matchups and those big explosive plays to Randy Moss and Jerry Porter.
That's what happens when you let the talent dictate what you do.
That's right.
And you lose the team concept. If you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, you had better have some sense of balance, or your quarterback's going to be on his back all day long. I could care less if you have Randy Moss. You got to run the football. You got to neutralize all of that blitzing that Philadelphia does. So maybe they will run the ball more in this.
Well, they're going to have to play catch-up, because I'm going to guarantee you this. Andy Reid will come out and spread the field. Donovan is in the zone right now. Spread the field. Create those one-on-one matchups for T.O., Greg Lewis, L.J. Smith, all kinds of talent that the Eagles have on offense.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they're going to have to play catch-up, why not just throw to Randy Moss the ball some more? I think the Randy ratio is going to double cover them.
That's why you host.
We will see you guys next week.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by NBA Live 2006. Take control September 26th. And by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. Sal Palantonio, Merrill Hodge, Ron Jaworski. As we roll into the month of October, here's what we know. Everybody can talk about the Patriots missing this guy or that guy. This guy's in South Bend, that guy's in Cleveland. But, Jaws, you still got to beat them, and it's tough to do.
Well, the one thing we do know, Sal, is with the game on the line, Tom Brady is still the best quarterback in the National Football League.
And nothing about your Eagles. Nothing.
We'll get to that.
Okay, all right.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, let's begin week 4 in New England. The matchup is the Chargers at the Patriots, and last Sunday night on ESPN Sunday Night Football, you saw it, LaDainian Tomlinson gashing the New York Giants defense up and down the field until, well, Mike Patrick ran out of adjectives. Now, you popped in the coach's tape, and you saw what LT did against the Giants. What does the defensive coordinator for the Patriots, Eric Mangini, have to do this week to try to prevent LT from getting to the outside? At least bottle him up a little bit.
Okay, well, Sal, and actually kind of bottling up, I think, is really one of the key focuses. You can't let him get to the perimeter. You can't let him get to the edge. And I went back to the tape of last week, you know, with the Patriots and how they handled the Steeler running game. And I think when you look at Willie Parker, it's very similar as far as how he can get to the perimeter. No Rodney Harrison. How does that impact? Well, you lose a very emotional leader, a guy who flashes on tape. But when you look at the defense, they still execute. Even when Rodney Harrison left, they still played great defense. And I think this is the type of front you're going to see. They use this a lot against the Steelers. It's called an over front. 3 defensive linemen to the tight end side. We'll get to that in just a minute with Seymour in the middle there. This is going to be a weak side run. What I want you to focus on is Marquise Hill and Mike Vrabel. They become the critical players, not allowing Willie Parker to get to the outside, using their leverage and working to the outside and not getting hooked. That is critical. Now, when you do that, and Richard Seymour's quickness, you get a mental bust on the offensive line. Seymour's in the backfield. The best, most complete defensive lineman in football. Then remember last week, Josh says, we'll throw on 1st and 10.
That's right.
This is a 1st and 10 play. An advantage having Seymour down here, you get a mismatch on guards and centers. He gets off the ball extremely quick, gets under Harding's pads. He's in the backfield, sack on the quarterback. So if you throw on 1st and 10, you got Seymour down there, who has a great matchup to get after the quarterback. But I also like the front because it's a strong side front. But it comes to your perimeter players. They must contain LT. You cannot let him get to the outside. And I think this defense has shown they can do it, and they'll do it this week.
Well, when you look at the Chargers, I believe they must stay on schedule. Stay ahead of the down. Because the one thing that the Patriots defensively can do is dictate to you with the number of packages they have from the defensive side of the ball. But we also know the Patriots play the 3-4 as well as the 4-3. So in the 3-4, the linebackers must set the edge. In the 4-3, it's got to be those defensive ends setting the edge. It's easy to say, but very difficult to do because the Chargers may be the best perimeter running team in the National Football League. The first key to a successful counter is caving down the defense on play side. The double team on the 3-technique defensive tackle is critical. There can be no initial penetration up the middle. The most difficult block is tight end Antonio Gates one-on-one on defensive end Michael Strahan. Everyone talks about Gates' ability as a receiver, but here he showed he can be an excellent blocker as well. The play side was now secure, allowing left guard Chris Dielman a clear path to kick out linebacker Carlos Emmons. Wide receiver Keenan McCardell cracked back to block safety Jabril Wilson. And all LaDainian had to do was follow Lorenzo Neal, who demolished an overmatched corner. Perimeter speed is one of the elements Tomlinson brings. The Patriots must set the edge and not allow LT to get outside.
Our next matchup is in Atlanta. The Vikings at the Falcons. Nice rebound last week for Dante Culpepper, but this is the matchup show, and this is where we talk about the sick Vic offense. And Haji,
my man,
Haji, the Falcons, again, have the #1 running offense in the league. What influence does Vic have on that run offense?
Well, you know what? You're right. He has a huge influence. So we're going to show you in a minute with the coach clicker. But we know he's the most exciting player in football, the most explosive when he has the ball in his hands. But we want to go to the coach's clicker because we want to show you how he impacts the running game when he doesn't have the ball. That's why we grab the famous coach's clicker. We hit the play early so that it starts to roll. But I want you to focus on Mike Vick. Even though he's not going to have the football, the impact he has. You got to remember, all week you're worried about number 7 getting out the back door. Boot action. Well, in this particular play, they're going to run it to the weak side. Now, Vic is going to hand the football off here. If you're this outside defender, you cannot get ahead of yourself, meaning you got to close down and defend the run or sink your hips. That'd help. You can't get to the quarterback until he gets out, although that's part of his responsibility. Well, here comes Vic. Ball's already been handed off. Look at the focus here. Now, look at the gate to the back door. You get anybody, Warrick Dunn especially out there, you gas defenses. When you watch Mike Vick, you want to see the ball in his hands. But when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, is really where I think he may impact a defense even more, because you're so focused on him. You're so concerned about him that you do those type of things. You get ahead of yourself, and you can't get ahead of yourself.
Well, let me get back to another explosive player in the National Football League, and that's Dante Culpepper. And I thought after studying the tape last week, he was better, but he still is not where he needs to be from a consistency standpoint. When he got the look of a one-on-one matchup, he was able to get to it quickly. His progression was sharp. Here he had the one-on-one matchup. He got to it, touchdown. But after watching the game and breaking it down, what I noticed with Dante, when the coverage was disguised, when he didn't get a clear definition of the coverage, he had a tendency to put the ball down and try to make plays with his legs.
That's what Atlanta's defense
he's better,
is good
but
at.
not quite there. Atlanta will disguise their coverages.
Very interesting. Stay with us. When we come back, Jaws will tell you what happens when Sean Alexander meets Greg Williams, D. And how about that Denver defense? They've joined the party big time.
Out.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by NBA Live 2006. Take control September 26th. And by IBM, helping companies innovate in an on-demand world.
The Denver defense this year has emerged pretty quickly here as a menace. It's obvious the upgrade of the Broncos D-line has made their linebackers very, very happy. Just ask LT and the rest of the AFC West. But this week, the Broncos have to travel out to Jacksonville, and that means Fred Taylor, Jaws. And Jaws said, he said last week to Jack Del Rio, I want the rock until my legs fall off.
Well, let me get back to this Denver linebacking core. I was in Denver on Monday night. I had a chance live to watch this group. And what they do is attack the line of scrimmage. They use a lot of games up front, the slants, the stunts, the twists, and the linebackers fly to the football. For the linebacking core at Denver, it's all about speed. It's all about disrupting the pass protections and, of course, the run blocking. This linebacking core, combined with the front four, works in harmony, and that really is the key to blowing up any team's running game or passing game.
That's why, Jaws, I think in this matchup, it comes down to Jacksonville's offensive line. They're going to have to get double teams and get on those linebackers extremely quick if they're going to allow Fred Taylor to get into the secondary. That's what they did last week against the Jets. They were heavy run. They were three-step drop, and they ran a lot of shotgun for a couple of reasons. One, I think they want to bring some balance and get Fred Taylor involved, which they did. But I think they want to avoid a lot of the hits the Leftwich is taking right now, and I think that's what you're going to see in this particular matchup. But it's still going to come down to Jacksonville's offensive line. They have to win. I didn't think they had a particular good game against the Jets. Against the Broncos, they have to have a terrific game.
You know, and watching that Denver offense, what I liked Monday night, Jake Plummer on the perimeter, on the edge. That's where the big plays come from, Jake. He's not going to beat you throwing the ball 20 times from the pocket.
And the next matchup, of course, is in the nation's capital. Let's shift gears to there. The Washington Redskins host the Seattle Seahawks, and Greg Williams now has obviously emerged as one of the top three or top two defensive coordinators in the National Football League. Right now, first two games, they've only given up 2.8 yards a carry, but here comes Sean Alexander, and that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, well, you know, talk about Sean Alexander in a minute. Let me talk about Max Strong, the factor back, as Haji likes to talk about. You know, this is the guy that really makes their running game work. Now, you know, we talk about Matt Hasselbeck, the plethora of wide receivers, Sean Alexander, the offensive line. But as I look at the tape of the Seattle Seahawks, it all starts with the fullback, Max Strong, because they love the power running game. This personnel package and formation are staples of Seattle's running game. The personnel is 2 backs and 3 wide receivers. The formation, and that is what you don't see often with 3 wide receivers, is the eye. Let's switch to the end zone camera. You see that the Cardinals had 7 defenders in the box. Those 7 outnumbered the 6 blockers that Seattle had. But out of the eye, the Seahawks run downhill. It's a straight ISO lead with Sean Alexander following the lead block of fullback Max Strong. Watch the double team by center Robbie Tobeck and guard Steve Hutchinson. That allowed Alexander to get downhill fast with no hesitation. And that's why the 7th defender, safety Adrian Wilson, did not need to be accounted for in the blocking scheme. Even flying off the corner, Wilson can't get there. This is a power run that forces a defense to line up and play football. Expect to see this against a Redskins defense that is tactically complex, but not that stout physically.
Let's look at that Redskins offense, and I know what you're saying. What Redskins offense? But Hodge, after 2 weeks, Hodge, you take away the 2 bombs against the Dallas Cowboys, the Santana Moss, and there really hasn't been much offense to speak of, but they have tried at least to get Clinton Portis out on the edge, unlike last year.
Yeah, well, if you want to look specifically at the running game in this matchup, if you're Seattle, you got to stop the stretch play that Washington is trying to run. They like to get to the perimeter, and Clinton Portis really likes to tack to the outside. And the reason this run is so effective is because initially it is to the outside, but from a back's perspective, you can hit it anywhere up inside defending, depending on how the defenders are handling it. It forces the defense to play laterally together, so if anybody gets cut off along the way, you can get it up there. But if their running game keeps going, they're going to be fine in the passing game. Really watching that game, I know they didn't hit it till late in the game, but there was a rhythm developing there. And I think if they can carry that over, oh, you don't think there's going to be a rhythm develop? You think
what rhythm did you see in that game?
Towards the end of the game, Brunell got much better during the course of that game.
There was no rhythm.
Did they win it?
Down the field.
Was it the difference in the game?
Yeah, they're going to waste their time gaining 4 yards to throw the ball.
Just took them 58 minutes to get it going.
Stay with us. When we come back, we'll talk about another guy that gets on the perimeter, and that would be Brian Westbrook this week in Kansas City. And then we'll look at another guy that's really emerged from his cocoon now in New York, and that is Eli Manning. Everything about Brian Westbrook is so deceptive. His speed, his elusiveness, without a doubt, for what he brings to the Philadelphia Eagles. Westbrook is the most underpaid guy in the National Football League. Jaws, let's get the numbers right. 56 touches, 439 yards. Once again, he leads the NFL in yards from scrimmage.
Are you moonlighting as a player's agent, too? I like that.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair. You know what I'm talking about.
I had a chance, yeah. But, you know, when you study this Eagles offense like Merrill and I do, it really is about Brian Westbrook. From a defensive perspective, when you break down the Eagles, you must come out of the defensive huddle going, where is he? Where is he? It's like, where's Waldo? Where's Westbrook? He is the guy that sets the tempo for the Eagles' offense. He is the guy you must locate because he is the difference maker. On this 3rd down and 1, head coach Andy Reid saw an opportunity to get Brian Westbrook matched against Raiders safety Derek Gibson for an explosive play. And when it comes to designing and dialing up big plays in the passing game, no one is better than Reid. First, notice the personnel. Terrell Owens is the only wide receiver. It's run personnel. But look at Westbrook. He's offset wide in the backfield, in a position to release on a pass route. When Owens motioned to the same side of the formation as Westbrook, Philadelphia's 2 best receivers were now on the same side of the field. Owens' route was designed to attack corner Charles Woodson's inside shoulder, to draw Woodson toward the middle of the field. This created space to the outside for Westbrook's wheel route and defined the desired one-on-one matchup between Westbrook and Gibson. Against the Chiefs, expect to see Andy Reid continue to move Westbrook. He will dictate matchups against safeties Sammy Knight and Greg Wesley. Strength is not pass coverage.
Jaws, I want to know what happens in your mind when your old team plays your old coach.
Why do you ask those tough questions? It can't end in a tie. Maybe it will. We'll see.
You 2 little lovebirds at the political office agenda. You know, let's get to the facts here. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagle offense, I think Andy he's one of the best in football at designing and creating for the people that that favor his offense. You know, guys like Westbrook, Teal. But when you look at their offense, they do lack a balance. And when you don't have the balance, there's a couple elements that really affect this team as we're going on. We're starting to see it with Donovan McNabb. He's starting to take a lot of shots. You're always in a football game with the Philadelphia Eagles because they throw it so much. They don't have the ability to finish a team when they get a lead. That is my only concern with this Eagle offense, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. When you're nearly 80%, you are what we call one-dimensional. Every team in football defensively tries to make you one-dimensional, and the Eagles do it. They do it for you. You don't even have to take away anything. They take it away.
You're in La La Land, my friend. You know, you
La La Land?
Yeah, La La Land. You came out of that smash-mouth Chuck Noll style of offense. The game has changed.
Chuck Noll won 4 Super Bowls, my friend, with that style.
And the game has changed. Will you let me talk? Will you let me talk for 1 second?
Go ahead.
Over the last 5 years, the Philadelphia Eagles have won 59 regular season games, more than any team in the National Football League.
They won championship.
They have a profile in place that they win football games. No, they haven't hoisted the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
That's what we talk about
But they know how to win football games. Andy Reid believes, their organization believes in explosive plays. They don't waste their time trying to gain 4 yards. They try to get the ball down the field.
Well, you know what? They have not won a championship, and in order to do that, you're going to have some resemblance of balance to finish teams and beat good teams.
When they get a lead, they run the ball.
Really? Donovan's not even going to make it this year.
Don't worry, he'll make it.
Keep throwing it.
All right.
I tell you, they do have to protect Donovan a little bit more. I agree with Haji on that one.
Good.
Let's shift our next matchup to New York. The Rams at the Giants. Both teams are 2-1, and it looks like Eli Manning is more and more getting comfortable in that pocket. He's 5th in the NFC in passing, but very quietly, Mark Bulger is having a very good year at the top here.
You know what? Mike Martz is having a very good year.
And he gets it.
You know what? He does get it. See, Mike Martz is a field coach. What I mean by that is he goes through the course of the game and he kind of feels what's going on. And one of the things he's been criticized is he doesn't feel the run enough. Well, last week, I watched him on tape. He started feeling that run a little bit. He started to create some balance and really took the pressure off of Bulger. I want to show you a play that kind of illustrates what happened during the course of the game after they'd been running the football. Then what Mike does is he runs the run action that really slows down the front 7 of getting after the quarterback. Guards pulling. Counter action by the back. Looks like run. Defense reacts like run. They hit it like the ball's going to be handed off. Look at the linebackers in the secondary. They see that guard pull. They see that back action, and they hit it. Now a huge void has been created in the middle of the field. And one thing I love about Mark Bulger is how he throws it to an area. Watch this throw here. As the linebackers are working to the left, the route's coming to the inside.
Where's the wide receiver?
Oh, wait, he's about to come. Just patient. But watch, the ball's already in the air to an area, to our man, Torrey Holt, one of the great route runners in the National Football League. And when you look at the Giant defense, studying them on tape, they do lose people at times. And Mike is great at moving things around, formations and shifts. The way they run that run action, if you get the linebackers jumping up there, boy, there's going to be a lot of voids in the middle of the field for the Rams in this one.
I love the way you break down the passing game. Good job,
I'm balanced.
my friend. See, you're expanding a little bit. I'll tell you, another guy that's playing very well at the quarterback position, Eli Manning. He grew up Sunday night against the San Diego Chargers, not only from dealing with that hostile environment out in San Diego, but the way he played the quarterback position, the poise under pressure, the awareness, and the arm strength, throwing this off the back foot as a rope about 35 yards downfield. When I broke that tape down, Sal, I was very impressed watching the evolution of Eli Manning.
Back to the Rams for a second. Did you see Friday's Wall Street Journal? They had an intriguing analysis of the entire league, and they concluded that the Rams were the smartest team in the National Football League.
Because of Mike Martz.
When we come back, we will have the EASports.com poll question. What winless team is most likely to rebound in Week 4? And guess what? Haji actually agrees with you guys.
Yeah, right.
Hey, here are the showtimes for Week 5. Don't forget, Sunday morning, the big show on the Worldwide Leader at 8:30. This is where you come every week for serious, in-depth analysis. Yeah. Now it's time for this week's EASports.com poll question. Go on the page, go to the bottom of the page, click on the question. Here's the question for this week. Which of the following winless teams is most likely to rebound and compete for a playoff berth? The Raiders, Ravens, Packers, and Cardinals. And the answer is the Oakland Raiders. Haji, you agree?
What? Well, not only do I agree, but the voters agree.
That's a first.
Raider Nation and I are at one. The Raiders, when I look at their offense, we do got one area down. That's down the field. We just got to work on the rest of the field. we get the rest of the field figured out. We're going to be just fine.
Hey.
And the Raiders got an excellent shot to make it to the playoffs. And the defense playing much better. And once that balances out, the Raiders will be there.
Well, my team is the Baltimore Ravens that will come back and make the playoffs because they're only 0-2 right now. So they got 14 games left to make up for that 0-2 start. And I believe they have the components in place. Solid defense, and of course, start giving the rock a little more to Jamal Lewis.
You know, for years on this show, week in and week out, Jaws be talking about Peyton Manning. But
That's right.
Now we got to talk about this Colts defense, and we have marveled about this Colts defense for 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, 32 possessions teams have had against the Colts. They have breached the Colts red zone only 5 times. And this week, Haji, Tony Dungy compared Dwight Freeney to Bruce Smith.
And he's dead on.
No, that's some pretty high praise right there.
But rightfully so. He is a difference maker. We talked last week about dictating formations. He will require people around him. Well, let me show you after I watched the Cleveland tape just how much he impacted this game. Actually, it's quite comical, I'll tell you this. But remember the formations. They want to get tight ends to his side, widen the line of scrimmage. So they got the tackle and the 2 tight ends. Now, just watch this. When I talk about dictating and requiring attention, are you kidding me? Look at this.
3 guys.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
And this wasn't just one time. This happened several times. And what did they get out of it? A 2-yard completion. The other element that after I watched the tape, you can't get big plays. You're occupying so much time on this guy. You're throwing 2-yard completions. Great passing game.
That is a pure triple team right there. But you know what? Where are the other guys on defense? Someone ought to break free.
Don't forget, historic Sunday night football broadcast on ESPN live from Mexico City. Don't miss it.
Right.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by NBA Live 2006. Take control September 26th. And by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. Sal Palantonio, Merrill Hodge, and Ron Jaworski. It is Week 5. We still have 4 undefeated teams in the National Football League, and they are the Colts, the Bengals, the Bucks, and the Redskins.
The Who Days.
And everybody wants to talk to the blue in the face about the passing game.
That's right.
But guess what? Those
That
teams
doesn't
are
matter.
1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in points allowed, Haji.
Well, then what does that tell you, Sal?
Defense.
Get rid of the passing game. Defense wins championships, Josh.
Just another cliche from Haji.
Well, let's begin Week 5 in Atlanta. It is the Patriots at the Falcons, and the matchup here is simple. How do you stop the #1 rushing attack in the National Football League of the Atlanta Falcons? Last week, we saw LaDainian Tomlinson basically demoralize that Patriots D, Haji, and Jaws, and we saw all week people tell us what happened to the Pats. Would you do me a favor, break out the coach's tape, and show us what happened to the
Well,
Patriots?
Sal, I was in New England last week, and I saw that game live, and I couldn't wait to come back here to NFL Films and plug the tape in and get a look at what went on. But first of all, when you look at the San Diego Chargers offensively, they are very efficient on first down. And they are 58%, 4+ yards on first down, so their offense stays on schedule. It really is a great number. And that kept the Patriots' defense off schedule. Because I studied that defense, and they play that 3-4. And I think they're eventually going to go back to the 4-3, because what I noticed, I studied their 3-4. They had big spacing between the nose guard and the ends, and that put a tremendous burden on the linebackers. In their 3-4 alignment, the Patriots predominantly played with their 2 safeties deep, not part of the run front. So they were defending the run primarily with 7 in the box. From the end zone angle, you see another common element in New England's 3-4. They aligned with their ends wide, outside the offensive tackles. That increased the gap responsibilities for inside linebackers Monty Beisel and Chad Brown. On this play, you see a couple of things at work. The crackback element by the motion tight end widens defensive end Ty Warren even more and gives the appearance of a perimeter run. As we go back to the snap, you see the second factor. The backfield action by fullback Lorenzo Neal and LaDainian Tomlinson also shows outside run. That impacts inside linebacker Brown. Brown reacts laterally, not downhill, allowing the offensive tackle to block in 4 yards on the Patriots side of the ball. One final point that proved consistent last week. Nose tackle Vince Wilfork was double-teamed and handled, allowing the guard to slide up to the other inside linebacker, Beisel. Against the Chargers, 18 of Tomlinson's 25 carries were for 4 yards or more. That's efficient.
Man, I could watch that all day. Ye who runs the football best always wins, Sal. Don't ever forget that, right? In the National Football League, you know, running the football, not everybody runs it the same. In fact, I think there's a good way to break down the styles of runs we see in the National Football League. There's read runs and point of attack runs. A point of attack run are runs like the trap, power O. Cincinnati Bengals love the power O. A lot of teams run the power O. And then there are read runs. The Atlanta Falcons are kind of a read run team where you put a lot of pressure on your tailback and your fullback that they must feel things and see things. It's not really, you start at a point, but you may end up completely at another spot. So let's go to the coaching clicker, coaching tape, the film room, Haji's film room, and let me show you what I'm talking about. As we just saw what Josh showed with the San Diego Chargers, kind of a point of attack run. The Atlanta Falcons like to really a feel run where they try to get flow initially. The first thing to watch for is the offensive line where they come off the ball and they're trying to get the defense flowing one direction. Now the burden falls on the backs. Justin Griffith, the fullback, has to be just like Warwick Dunn, the ball carrier. He has got to feel this, press the hole, and then he's got to get to the backside. He does have an assignment to block, but he's got to keep his head on a swivel. This is what he does such a beautiful job of, is helping the tight end block the defensive end. Chuck Noll would love this. Same foot, same shoulder. You decleat a defensive end.
Get excited, Haji.
You get Warwick Dunn in his secondary, and that's how come Atlanta runs the football so well. They have a flow style of run. They start runway, but the fullback and the halfback have to feel that. They can get to the back door, or they can stay play side. Very hard on a defense. You got to play extremely disciplined, and all 11 players must stay in their position and not get cut off. Very hard to defend.
Warwick Dunn, very similar to LaDainian Tomlinson, finding that cutback.
Let's shift to the Patriots offense, the passing game in particular. Now, Tom Brady took exception to something that Marty Schottenheimer said this week. And Tom Brady said, quote, "If people want to write us off, go for it, but I don't think that's the wisest thing to do." That's a rare thing from Brady, a little PDA, public display of anger.
Yeah. Overreaction, because Marty Schottenheimer didn't write him off. He was complimenting him.
But nevertheless, he has reason to be miffed. I mean, they are last in the league in running the ball.
You can be miffed at yourself, not other people.
This time last year, he had 9 touchdown passes. He only has 4 right now, Joe.
Well, you look, they're not running the football. They're dead last with 66.3 yards per game running the football. But as I look at this offense right now, it's got to become Tom Brady's team. You know, they've got to become an attack football team. Their defense is not as good as it used to be. You know, Tom Brady's like Peyton Manning now. He's going on the field knowing he's got to score 30 points. And I think in this game, he's going to come out of the locker room thinking, I've got to attack the safeties of the Atlanta Falcons. That's Keon Carpenter and Brian Scott. They are liabilities in coverage. I think what you'll see, spread the field. Merrill, you know you'll love to get a wide receiver on a safety.
I still think they need some sort of balance in this. When you look at Atlanta at home, they do a great job of getting pressure on the quarterback. They got a great blitz package. They time their blitzes perfectly. And the Patriot offensive line right now is not an offensive line that you can put a lot of burdens on. And they tackle